Hey all, I'm back with my third video. My name is Joshua Hervey. I'm with JT Sports Takes. That's me. Um, this is my third video. I'm going to touch on a little bit of everything today. I updated my QB rankings. I updated my running back rankings, my wide receiver rankings, a little tight end rankings, and then we'll talk about kickers and defenses as well. I won't touch too much on those. Um, I'll just give you a little advice on how, unless you get the top and reach for a top in the later rounds of your draft, how you can go about perhaps streaming a defense or kicker. But we did get some news yesterday that broke out. We'll start out with Ezekiel Elliott. He got suspended for 6 games. Great. Um, we got some clarity. A lot of people thought maybe it'd only be 2 games, maybe 4. He did appeal, and I think the NFL did the right thing here. Anytime you put yourself in a situation where you can get in trouble with a domestic assault, abuse, whatever you want to call it, um, I do understand the charges were dropped. The witness was kind of flaky, but he has had past history at Ohio State. Apparently, he was kind of a troublemaker. Um, Rumors that Joey Bosa wanted to get out of his dorm room with him because of the stuff that was going on at Ohio State. But realistically, the NFL is going to come down hard on situations like this now. Ever since the Ray Rice thing, ever since the Dallas Cowboy, Greg Hardy, uh, I think that's who it was, Adrian Peterson. Um, NFL is gonna gonna come down on you hard. It doesn't matter if you're charged or not. I think they're doing the right thing. You have kids looking up to these players. Um, and that's not good. You don't really want somebody that's going to get in trouble or in the news for something that did or didn't happen like this. I certainly wouldn't want my kids, nieces, nephews um, getting into any situation where they think a certain player is a role model. Uh, uh, so you just don't want your kids looking up to somebody like that. I did bump Ezekiel Elliott down to number 12 from 3. He was a consensus number 3 pick on most boards at running back position, and that has officially changed. Uh, so moving on, Sammy Watkins got traded to the Rams. Um, uh, I wasn't really high on him in the first place. I had him probably lower than more people. Probably I had a lower consensus on him from the get go just because of his injury history. He couldn't stay healthy. He was one of those guys where I was just kind of avoiding regardless. And now I'm gonna just avoid him even more. Uh, he got traded to the Rams. Bad quarterback play by Jared Goff. Their just whole offense last year was awful. But we'll see what happens. We'll see how the new coaching system works. Uh, Kenny Britt did get 1,000 yards last year in that offense, so we'll see what happens. Uh, and then the other news: Jordan Matthews got traded from Philadelphia to the Bills. So the Bills got rid of Watkins to acquire Jordan Matthews. This move is actually kind of weird, and a lot of people have kind of talked about it. I've been listening to SiriusXM radio the last few days, even last night. It's been a lot of talk. Jordan Matthews is gonna probably be forced to play the outside role. He's more of a slot receiver, so he's gonna be playing out of position. I think the guy that I like to move up my boards here is probably Zay Jones and Anquan Bolden. Zay Jones is a rookie. They all play the slot though, and I think the red zone targets are gonna go to um, Bolden or McCoy. I guess we'll have to wait and see, but Bolden really is the guy I'm gonna target in this system. Just because Jordan Matthews is gonna be playing out of position. Zay Jones is a rookie. Takes a few games for a rookie to get involved, unless you're Michael Thomas. It even took him a couple games, but he was really hot last year. So, anyways, I like Bolden this year. I think he can get 4 to 6 touchdowns. He might have the upside of 8, but we'll have to see how he clicks in that offense. Offenses are different. They're going to run the ball a lot more. They actually have a running game where Detroit really didn't have a running game, so that could have a factor as well. Uh, I could see like 4 to 6 touchdowns out of Bolden though, and several yards. He's gonna catch the ball. He's more of a possession receiver, a more bigger target, and he's been effective pretty much his whole career. He's a journeyman. Um, but I'm gonna talk about some. I updated my quarterback rankings a little bit. I updated my running back rankings with the Zeke Elliott news, and I just kind of um, after the like week 1 preseason is not really wrapping up, but it's almost done for week 1 here of the preseason. Wide receivers, running backs. I got top 50 for both of those. Um, I have my tight ends, my top 25. I have my top uh, a few kickers listed and a few defenses listed. I don't have them officially ranked. Um, I don't like to rank kickers and defenses. Realistically, I usually just do matchups and the stream matchups and stuff like that, anyways, and um, float from week to week. Uh, but anyways, let's just go. We'll just start with quarterbacks. I know I've done quarterbacks before. Uh, so I still have my top 3 the same. Um, I got Matt Ryan as 4. I did move Jameis Winston ahead of Kirk Cousins. I just like the targets that Winston has better than Kirk Cousins. Um, uh, Andrew Luck 7. You still don't know about him. There's a lot of news. Maybe he might not play week 1. We'll see what happens. He might miss week 1, week 2, but overall, I think he's still got the upside of perhaps Matt Ryan. I think Matt Ryan and Andrew Luck are very similar, actually, where they could be at a tier by themselves. Because you don't really know. We'll see what happens. Philip Rivers at 8 still. I have Derek Carr at 9. I have Russell Wilson at 10. He's a guy that I think I had at 15 before I moved him up. I just like his game a little bit better than Cam Newton. I have Cam Newton actually right after him at 11. Um, I have Ben Roethlisberger at 12, Eli Manning at 13, 14 I have at Matthew Stafford, 15 Marcus Mariota. I moved up a little bit. Dak Prescott, I moved up a little bit, 16, 17 Carson Wentz. I don't even think he made my top 25. I I had him really low. I think he's going to be better this year. He looked pretty good in the first preseason game. We'll see what happens. I have Carson Palmer. I moved down quite a bit on my board, about 6 spots. He is an injury away from a career-ending season. He's pretty old. He's not very durable. Uh, we'll see what happens though. Andy Dalton at 19. I have Tyrod Taylor at 20. He lost Sammy Watkins. I didn't even have him in my top 20 the first video. Uh, uh, I think he's got upside to be a top 20. I wouldn't draft him as a number 1 quarterback, but if you're a super flex is where you can flex a QB or 2 quarterback leagues. I'd take him as my second. Sam Bradford 21, Brian Hoyer number 22, Blake Bortles I actually moved down. I think he has an upside, a high end number 2 quarterback. But he's looked awful this preseason. He looked awful last year. Um, it seems to be digressing in a skill set, and it's just not a really good situation. Hopefully Leonard Fournette can kind of help ease a little bit of mistakes from Bortles. So Blake Bortles number 23. I have Joe Flacco at 24. He's got a back issue. He should be fine for week 1. Uh, Back issues are very sketchy though, tricky. I could have potentially see Joe Flacco making the top 20. But with his back issue and everything, I think I'm not taking a chance on him. If he gets hit one time and his back is toast, it could be a bad news. Alex Smith, I have a 25. 26, I have Deshaun Watson. 27, I have Trevor Siemian. 28, I have Mike Lennon. And then I probably round up my 30 with probably like a Josh McCown for the Jets. Perhaps Kaiser, I think, is probably going to get uh, a lot of cred in Cleveland as he's outplaying Osweiler and Kessler. I think Kaiser will be starting by the end of the year. Uh, I don't think Mike Lennon is actually going to start the whole year either. Out of all the rookies that probably will play this year, I think Kaiser and Watson have the best shot to start. Watson looked better than Savage in his game. Uh, Kaiser has looked better than both Kessler and Osweiler. Trubisky actually looked better than Mike Lennon, but Mike Lennon is actually a capable backup quarterback. And he did look awful. I think he went like 2 for 8 and a pick six or something like that. Um, he had a quarterback rating of I think 0 in that game. Crazy. But I think Trubisky could start. Um, I think John Fox doesn't want to. They paid Mike Lennon a lot of money, so I think he's just going to be starting regardless. They could just tank for a pick next year, and that's what they're going to probably end up doing. Uh, so that's my quarterbacks. I just want to talk a little bit about a Cam Newton. Um, I was really hating on Cam Newton, I think, in the first video. And then I realized, you know what, he does rush a little bit. I think he's going to continue to rush a little bit, even if his um, touchdowns go down. I think the year that he had his monster year 2 years ago, he had 10 rushing touchdowns, and all the other years he had about 5. So if he has 5 rushing touchdowns this year, I think I could see him a low end RB quarterback one, and a low end quarterback one, high end two, with quarterback one upside, like Philip Rivers or Andrew Luck. I mean, he's done it before. We'll see what happens. Um, so yeah, running backs. This has changed quite a bit actually. Um, I I still have David Johnson, Le'Veon Bell as a consensus number 1 and 2. I have Melvin Gordon number 4. I have Devontae Freeman number 4. Melvin Gordon number 3. Devontae Freeman number 4. And then I have DeMarco Murray and LaShawn McCoy at 5 and 6. I have Jordan Howard as 7. I moved Marshawn Lynch up to 8. Jay Ajayi number 9. Leonard Fournette number 10. Todd Gurley number 11. Ezekiel Elliott number 12. And then after Ezekiel Elliott, I have Isaiah Crowell number 13. 14, I have Dalvin Cook. 15, Lamar Miller. 16, I moved Carlos Hyde into my top pick. Um, Mike Gillislee, number 17. 18, Ty Montgomery. 19, CJ Anderson. I have 20, Terrence West. 21, Jonathan Stewart. 22, LeGarrette Blount. 23, Danny Woodhead. 24, Spencer Ware. 25, Robert Kelly. And this might shock you a little bit, but I'm not as high on all the rookies. Out of the rookies that are being drafted where they should be, I think Christian McCaffrey and Dalvin Cook and Leonard Fournette have a really, really good shot of doing something. I do have 25 more running backs, but I'm just going to list off the top 25. I'm going to have a list out on my Facebook page. I'll put them out there, a spreadsheet. So if you wanted to, I'll get those out there tonight or tomorrow. Um, so yeah, and then my receivers, uh, I got 50 wide receivers as well. I think a lot of my top 25 are about the same. Uh, I think my top 10, 12 are about the same order. Um, uh, we'll just go through the top 25 here. I have Antonio Brown 1, Julio Jones 2, Odell Beckham 3, AJ Green 4, Mike Evans 5, Jordy Nelson 6, Michael Thomas 7, Des Bryant 8, number 9 Brandon Cooks, number 10 T.Y. Hilton, 11 Amari Cooper, 12 Doug Baldwin, 13 Golden Tate. This is where I kind of changed a little bit. I got 14 Demaryius Thomas, 15 DeAndre Hopkins, 16 Julian Edelman, 17 Michael Crabtree, 18 Brandon Marshall, 19 Devontae Adams, 20 Terrell Pryor, 21 Devontae Parker, 22 Tyreek Hill, number 23 Emmanuel Sanders, number 24 Kelvin Benjamin, number 25 Allen Robinson. Um, this might shock you a lot, but to me, all like the 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, all these number 2 receivers on high-powered offenses, I pretty much just took the quarterback that I liked the most. I mean, I did like DeAndre Hopkins is number 15. He's probably going to get a lot of targets, and he's probably got the upside to a number 10 receiver out of my list that falls into the mid-teens, low teens. Um, Here's the thing, though. Like, Houston's offense was so bad last year, um, and if Savage is starting a few games, and Deshaun Watson is playing like the rest of the season after the first few. I like Deshaun Watson as the quarterback there over Tom Savage. Um, and I could move DeAndre Hopkins maybe to number 11, number 12 maybe, but I just he's got to prove it to me. Um, Maybe a PPR formats I might put him a little higher just because he is like the only target there. So we'll see what happens. Um, so that's my top 25 wide receivers. Um, I got top 50 here. We'll kind of talk about. Um, we're gonna talk about. Again, I'll put my cheat sheet out there for you. ADP or what? Not average draft position, but I'll just put my rankings on Facebook. I'll post them all to be honest, and I'll have one sheet with kickers and defenses. A little strategy for you maybe, a little article, whatever you want to call it. My tight end rankings, top 25. There's a lot of I got top 25 tight ends here. Sorry, I'm kind of struggling here talking. I'm sorry. Uh, Rob Gronkowski is the consensus number 1. Travis Kelce's number 2. I have Jimmy Graham number 3. Greg Olsen number 4. Jordan Reed moved down to 5. I think he was a consensus number 3 for a while. And then a lot of people after his ankle injury are like, all right, let's move him down. He's already injured. He's probably going to get injured again anyways. So I have him number 5. I have Delaney Walker number 6. I have Kyle Rudolph number 7. Martellus Bennett number 8. Tyler Eifert number 9. Hunter Henry number 10. Zach Ertz number 12 or 11. Cameron Brate number 12. Eric Ebron number 13. Jack Doyle number 14. Julius Thomas number 15. Uh, Antonio Gates, number 16. 17, I have Austin Hooper. 18, Justin Witten. Jason Witten, sorry. I can't talk. I told you. O.J. Howard, number 19. 20, I have Vance McDonald for San Francisco. 21, I have Dwayne Allen. 22, Austin Seferian-Jenkins. Number 23, Colby Fleener. 24, David Njoku, and number 25, Vernon Davis. Um, uh, So towards the tail end here, I could potentially move Hooper ahead of um, Gates or Thomas, but um, really, the latter 5 to 8. Uh, let's just talk about my 21 Dwayne Allen here. Um, he's gonna be Gronkowski if he can't stay healthy. He's gonna be the consensus number one like tight end target. And he's gonna put up number one tight end numbers. That's why I have him really high. If you have Gronk, I would almost take a flyer on him with the last pick as a cuff. I know a lot of people don't really want to cuff, but Rob Gronkowski in the high-powered offense. Um, when he went down, Martellus Bennett last year put up productive numbers. So I could see Dwayne Allen even getting looks with Gronk in the mix. And when Gronk is hurt or out of the mix, Dwayne Allen's the guy. He's going to be. If Gronk gets hurt again this year with an injury, a back injury, just any kind of injury, Dwayne Allen is the number one tight end on that team, and he should be owned in almost all formats as a backup. Uh, and another thing, Austin Seferian-Jenkins is getting a lot of looks at the Jets training camp. He is suspended for a couple games at the beginning of the season. Um, but he's getting a lot of looks and targets now that Enunwa is hurt, um, out for the season. They got to throw the ball to somebody. It's probably going to be a lot of Bilal Powell, maybe a lot of Matt Forte. But they're going to have to throw the ball. They're going to be behind on most games. And I think Seferian-Jenkins is going to be that guy to get target. I think he's got upside, low end 2, upside 2, tight end number 2. Um, but he's also hurt a lot as well. Um, David Njoku for Cleveland, I wasn't so high on him. Rookie tight ends, I kind of devalued a little bit. Last year when Hunter Henry did what he did, um, it was kind of not really. It was a surprise because most rookie tight ends, the curse of the rookie tight end, they don't do much. And that's potentially why I have OJ Howard ranked so low. They still have Cameron Brate, who caught a lot. I think he caught like 8 touchdowns last year, maybe more. I can't remember correctly, but he was a very good tight end, a low end one last year, and he could potentially be a low end one again this year. Um, so yeah, I have Vernon Davis as well. The same thing. Jordan Reed went down. Vernon Davis was very viable as a tight end in most formats. And Jordan Reed is almost always hurt. He's already gotten hurt this preseason, so it's not gonna. I mean, he's not gonna stay healthy. Um, Jordan Reed's not gonna stay healthy, so Vernon Davis is a must-have. I think he's the backup there. Don't quote me. He was last year. He should be again this year. I think they still have like a Logan Paulson on their team or something like that. But Vernon Davis is the guy to own as the cuff for Jordan Reed. That's just how it is to it. Um, and then I do have some kickers and defenses that I would like to talk about. Kickers, there's really like 4 guys. And really, what I'm looking for in a kicker is like a high powered offense, somebody that's going to score a lot, week in, week out. Um, Justin Tucker was a consensus number one kicker last year. He's number one this year. Gostowski for the Patriots, high-powered offense again. Dan Bailey, high-powered offense again. Matt Bryant, high-powered offense again. Um, we'll see what happens. Those are my 4 kickers that if you're gonna not wait until the second to last round, um, for a kicker, you could maybe reach in the 10th, 11th, 12th round if you really wanted to. If you think your team is solid and you can reach for a kicker, I'd go for it. Justin Tucker should be the first off the board. Um, and if you're streaming kickers, that's usually what I do if I have to. Um, you can look at matchups too. If you think there's a very good matchup for maybe a blowout, you could maybe dr- grab that kicker for that week. Um, Defenses as well. I like to stream. I have a little bit more. Defense is listed here. Broncos are a really good defense. I think they're the number one. I think the Chiefs are going to be number two defense this year. They got a lot of interceptions a couple of years ago. They still have a very good secondary. I have Seahawks. I have Houston. I have Minnesota. I have the Cardinals. I have New England. And I think the Giants are going to be very good defense again this year. Last year, midway through the season to the tail end, they did very good, shutting down teams. Um, so realistically, defense is the same thing. Looking for a good matchup, looking for maybe a rookie quarterback. A lot of people are probably going to stream defenses. Are probably going to stream against, we'll say, Jared Goff and the Rams. They might go after the Jets. They might go after the Bears. Um, I mean, there's a lot of teams out there that you could stream against. San Francisco, perhaps. Although Brian Hoyer's there with Kyle Shanahan reconnecting. Um, we'll see what happens. There's going to be a probably a few other teams. The more and more we get into the season that are just horrifically bad that you can start to stream defenses against. Um, it's bound to happen. Not everybody makes it or is average. Um, So yeah, just stream defenses. If you're gonna draft a defense, I would just wait. I would take the best available on your board. You're probably gonna have a cheat sheet at your draft, but those are my like top eight. And I'll kind of put an article out there on kickers and defenses and streaming. Um, and yeah, um, and we'll talk a little bit about draft strategies now that I kind of went through a little rundown. I told you I was going to do like an ADP top 100 maybe, and I'll do that too. But I'm gonna wait a little bit, perhaps another week or so. I'm just gonna try to get my cheat sheets out there for you with my quarterbacks. Uh, Running backs, wide receivers, tight ends, and then I'll also post an article about streaming kickers and defenses. I don't do IGP, so I don't know enough. Depending on what you're doing for individual defensive players in your fantasy team, uh, yeah, I would just kind of, depending on how many players you're drafting, I probably would wait until the later rounds. Um, There's tends to be a lot of breakout defensive players from year in and year out. From what I've been hearing, if you only have like one defensive player and it's like a flex where you can draft a defensive lineman, a linebacker, or a safety, depending on your scoring system, you can probably just stream those as well. Especially if you're only starting 12, 14. Um, uh, But like I said before, I don't really do an IDP league or individual defensive player league. And that's going to be a short video today. Um, I could be a little bit more boring. I could talk about, uh, more, more things, running backs, wide receivers. I could tell you more about my lists. Um, but I'm gonna just kind of list you some potential bust players. Um, And I'm going to do that because I feel um, they're players that I'm just going to stay away from. I'm going to start off with like quarterbacks. I'm not super high. I have kind of a hate relationship with Cam Newton. Um, I'm not as high on Mariota as a lot of people. I think he's going to bust. He does have a high-powered offense. They are going to run the ball a lot. I'm not as high on Wentz as a lot of people too. He will improve this year, but we'll see what happens. That's just like three of my quarterbacks. I might draft as a backup, but most of the time, Cam Newton is going to be drafted as a number one. Um, there's other guys that I might pair together. I might pair like an Eli Manning and a Stafford together. I could pair Eli Manning with like a Dalton. Uh, the thing about Eli Manning and somebody like Eli Manning, Philip Rivers, is they throw a lot of interceptions. Even like a Jay Cutler throws a lot of interceptions. Um, so yeah, uh, my running back bust candidates. Even though I have him ranked as my third running back, um, I have Melvin Gordon. They did lose an offensive lineman, but he is the back there, and just by opportunity, I have him as my number three. He is the guy there. Um, Jay Ajayi was inconsistent last year, and I haven't really been high on him all year. He is my number 9 running back on this board. Um, Jay Ajayi was kind of inconsistent. A lot of his yards came in several games, like 2 or 3 games. Um, we'll see what happens though. Um, Lamar Miller is one of those guys. He was kind of a bust last year. Not really. I mean, just at a volume, but he did poorly. He could be another bust candidate. We'll see what happens. He's being pushed by Dante Foreman. We'll see what happens. Uh, he, um, I want to talk about these rookies actually. I was gonna talk about them, and why some of them are so low. Uh, I have Christian McCaffrey ranked 26 on my board, and I have him ranked lower because he does have Jonathan Stewart still. Jonathan Stewart is kind of a bowling ball running back. Um, he's kind of a power. Uh, he could get more red zone looks. Um, McCaffrey is more of a pass catcher. Um, if you notice, I didn't have Ingram in my top 25. I moved him out. Alvin Kamara news. Preseason looked awesome. We'll see what happens. I still like Ingram the best out of all of them. Uh, uh, so Christian McCaffrey, he is behind Jonathan Stewart still in the pecking order. A lot of people like McCaffrey, but here's the thing: I like Jonathan Stewart. He's been effective almost his whole career. He's one of those guys that's just overlooked from year in and year out. He's been productive. He is getting old. We'll see what happens. Um, then I have Kareem Hunt, number 33. Spencer Ware is still ahead of him. We'll see what happens. I might have missed Joe Mixon in my list here. Joe Mixon, number 29. Um, he's still in a very loaded backfield that is very behind a very bad offensive line. Um, so yeah, uh, you still got Jeremy Hill and Giovanni Bernard, and Giovanni Bernard has been a number 2 in PPR formats running back for like the last 4 years. It's crazy. I have him at 29. He's probably going to be yeah. I have Joe Mixon at 29. There's guys ahead of him that I like just based on volume. And a lot of people overdraft rookies. Zeke Elliott, great. A lot of people drafted Melvin Gordon his rookie year, and he was a bust. Very high, too. So we'll see what happens. Um, those are some rookie bust candidates. I have Delvin Cook super high, right behind Leonard Fournette. I have Delvin Cook at number 14. Just because of opportunity, I have him there. He's going to catch a lot of balls out of the backfield. That offensive line is really bad. He could potentially catch 60 balls out of the backfield this year. Um, and it's just because of our offensive line, how bad it is. We're going to do quick screens, um, short passes to help our offensive line and help our quarterback. I think that's how the Vikings are going to have to play their offense this year. Our offensive line is still bad. It looked awful the first preseason game. Um, we'll see what happens. Um, a bust candidates that I really like. Ty Montgomery. I've never been really high on him. As a running back, he's like I said before, my running back video. He's never really been healthy as a receiver. How is he going to be healthy running into a line? Um, I just don't think he's going to stay healthy. And that's partially why I have him at number 18. Um, I actually have Jamal Williams in my top 50. He's a guy to own if you have Ty Montgomery as a handcuff. Um, the thing is Green Bay doesn't run the ball all that often. They're a throw heavy team. Um, so yeah. Wide receiver bust candidates. Ooh. Amari Cooper was kind of a weird candidate for me. He doesn't score a lot of touchdowns, but let me just Julian Edelman. I think Cooks could be a candidate for uh, being a bust, even though I'm super high on him. I'm gonna take him in a lot of my leagues. Um, Brandon Cooks, yep. I'm going to take him in a lot of my leagues, but he could be a bust candidate. He's going to a high power offense with a lot of targets there to share with. Um, Edelman, Gronk, Malcolm Mitchell is even there. Chris Hogan is even there. They got 4 running backs on their team. Like, you never know week in and week out. I think the inconsistency is going to be there. And I am higher on him than most. Um, just because I think Tom Brady could have a potential huge year, could potentially throw 50 touchdowns this year. Um, the guy that I actually am not high on, and I do have a hate relationship with him, is Odell Beckham Jr. They did add Brandon Marshall to the mix. Um, Odell Beckham was an inconsistent receiver, at least for the team that I was on last year that had him. Um, he could be a potential bust candidate this year. He does have little mental hiccups on the sideline. Um, he's not really mental, but he just has those hiccups. His attitude on the sideline. He's just not a guy I want. Especially if I'm investing pick in the early to mid first round. I'd much rather reach on an AJ Green or a Mike Evans. The reason why I have Odell Beckham Jr. number 3 is just because I hate the guy doesn't mean he shouldn't be up there. Um, Another guy, Michael Thomas could be a potential bust candidate. A lot of people are really high on him. I'm high on him too. He is my number 7, but he was a number 2 receiver behind Brandon Cooks last year in that offense. Can he be a number 1 wide receiver? And just because he looks really good in preseason, mini camps, whatever you want to call it, he could be that potential. I mean, if you remember correctly, Brandon Cooks had a pretty good rookie year, and then he kind of slumped a little bit, and then he kind of re-picked up where he left off from his rookie season. It took him a minute to get used to the number 1 coverage that defenses were giving him. So I think Michael Thomas is a little bit lower. Uh, could be that potential bust candidate as well. Um, Tyreek Hill is an interesting character. He's getting a lot of looks. He's getting a lot of hype in this preseason. Um, I'm not really high on Tyreek Hill, just like Ty Montgomery. These two guys, um, they just don't really work out at all. Um, at all. I mean, all. At all. Like, stability, injury prone, smaller guys, um, fast guys. I might have said it before. They just get hurt. They're not durable. They aren't. They're just potential bust candidates because they are so dependent on getting the ball into their hands as many times as possible because they are flashy. If you remember Cordero Patterson with the Vikings, oh, this guy's great. He's got raw talent. Just get him the ball. He can find space. It turns out he just failed. Um, it just doesn't work. Tavon Austin is a boomer bust player. Tyreek Hill, I'm not saying is a bust yet, but he's gonna be a boomer bust from week in and week out. They're gonna run the ball a lot. They're gonna pass him the ball a lot. But they got rid of Jeremy Maclin. Who is their other receivers on that team? All the teams are gonna focus on Tyreek Hill. They're gonna stop him week in, week out. Another bust candidate is Keenan Allen. He could also be a bounce back candidate, in my opinion. Um, he just gets hurt all the time. I actually have Tyrell Williams ahead of him. I know that's probably crazy. I just have no faith in Keenan Allen. Um, so that's my wide receivers. Tight ends. Could this be the year that Jason Witten just falls off the planet and is not productive? Perhaps. Um, could this be the year that maybe Eric Ebron, sorry, is in the top 10? Could this be the year um, that perhaps um, for bus candidate in the tight end rankings here? I'm sorry, I'm just kind of rambling. Um, I actually believe Martellus Bennett is getting a lot of hype at Green Bay. But realistically, I think he's a little bit lower than where I should have him. Um, where most people have him. There's so much hype. There's a lot of hype with Jared Cook. There's still Richard Rodgers there in Green Bay. And Martellus Bennett has had injury issues in the past. Um, I think he is probably the highest bust candidate out of the tight ends. Uh, let's see here. There's guys that I'm high on at the tight end, but that doesn't mean they're like busts. Um, could put busts. Because there's a lot of potential. Eric Ebron has been that guy that everybody wants on their team because he's so good. He's so this. He's this. He's got a lot of like Matthew Stafford slings the ball a lot. Especially now that Bolden's gone, he's got a bunch of red zone looks, a lot of empty red zone looks that they gotta fill. Ebron could be a candidate that everybody's gonna draft and be high on. That could be a guy that just sucks again this year or injury. Um, so yeah. Um, those are my like bust candidates. Um, some other news. I forgot to mention. Tampa Bay kicker Arguello. I don't even know how to pronounce his name. Got cut, waived. See you later. Bye. He was awful. While you wasted a second round pick on a kicker. Wow. Uh, big news actually. And that's gonna do it for me today. JT Sports Takes. Again, I'm not professional. Uh, I just have opinions. You can take my knowledge if you want. You can pick my brain a little bit. I can give you whatever. All I have to say is I hope you keep listening. Have a great